ECOWAS says it's ready to negotiate with Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger after the countries announced their departure from the West African bloc. In a joint statement, the three junta leaders cite inhumane sanctions against their countries. ECOWAS suspended these nations following military coups that overthrew democratically elected governments. But instead of giving in, the countries joined forces to form what they call an Alliance of Sahel States. Joining us to give us some analysis, political analyst and geopolitics expert Ovigwe Eguegu, joining us on the line. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, quite a significant move. How is it being received as you assess the reasons behind it?
Yes, it's quite an interesting announcement made over the weekend by the Alliance of Sahel States, comprised of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And not so long after they made that announcement on TV, we saw the statement by ECOWAS, notification from these countries, and they are committed to find a negotiated solution to the political impasse. So, from ECOWAS' perspective, these are still members, and the statement actually refers to these countries, as members. So I think we will now have to wait and see whether these countries then move ahead to initiate the process according to Article 91 of the ECOWAS protocol.
Perhaps let's talk about the build-up towards this decision and the implications that will follow. Yeah,
generally speaking, I think the main challenge for the relationship between ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel States has been the pressure from ECOWAS on these countries since they had their coups. All three countries are led by military juntas, and since the juntas came into power, we've seen sanctions placed on them. The sanctions are particularly brutal for them because they are all landlocked countries that rely on coastal countries for trade, movement of people, and all of that to facilitate services. So it's been quite a problem for them dealing with the sanctions, and so far they've not been able to get any breakthroughs. And I think that is why they are calling ECOWAS's bluff, especially with the military intervention that was threatened. That intervention did not take place, and now that they know that ECOWAS is committed to the political process, they are trying to put themselves as an advantage because they know ECOWAS would not want them out of the bloc.
According to the ECOWAS treaty, the member states wishing to withdraw must give written notice a year in advance, and it continue to abide by its provisions during that year. So that, of course, talks to the response from ECOWAS regarding this move that, ECOWAS in itself has called on all three countries to return to civilian rule. What sort of implications will come with that, with this announcement?
Now, with supranational organizations like ECOWAS, like the African Union, it's really a question of who really has sovereignty at the end of the day. ECOWAS does not have sovereignty. In international relations, the state is the unit that wills sovereignty, and no other entity. So they became part of ECOWAS, yielded some of their sovereignty, you could say, to ECOWAS in the economic community to allow for free movement of people and all of that. But at the end of the day, if a state decides it wants to withdraw from any institution, not just ECOWAS, the state is perfectly positioned to do so. Whether it wants to follow the set or the agreed protocol to do that is even at the prerogative of the state. There is really no law on that a state must be or at least AES states must be inside ECOWAS. So ECOWAS knows all of this. And it would really be working behind closed doors right now to see how this can be avoided, because if it continues, actually it's leading to the further deterioration of ECOWAS as a bloc.
So what about the implications around the three countries now having distanced themselves from a former colonial power, France, and now strengthened their ties to Russia? What does that tell us?
Yes, that's one of the main factor we've been seeing since, at least for the last year. We were looking at it from a bigger geopolitical point of view. For an example, the Prime Minister of Niger just came back from a trip from Moscow, right? He went to Iran, he visited the UAE, and then also was in Russia. A few days ago, the Malian foreign minister hosted the ambassador of Russia to Mali in its capital. Russian military officers have just arrived in Burkina Faso also last week. So the relationship with Russia is really growing at a interesting pace at the expense of countries like France that have been there for a very long time. The driver for the closeness of this relationship, as the AES countries say, is that they prefer Russia as a security partner because it's able to meet their needs for security as opposed to as France. But that remains to be seen. It's still a few years into the relationship. We have 10 years of French leadership of security coordination in the Sahel, and it amounted to very little, if not even made the situation worse. So whether Russia can overturn that, I think remains to be seen. It is very complicated, and there are really many challenges to security in the region.